What's up, A to Z Sports Live, Titan Game Day Live, and man, do we have a lot to get to. Easton Freeze on this pregame show presented by our friends at X Golf in Nashville and in Murfreesboro. The Titans are in Buffalo to play against the Buffalo Bills, and it is not Will Levis as the starting quarterback. It is Mason Rudolph. So we'll get to see Mason Rudolph run the show here. There's other injuries that have affected the Titans lineup in this game. There's a brand new right tackle that I don't think anybody was really expecting after the brand new right tackle from a week ago. Actually played pretty well. But here we are. We're going to have a lot of stuff to dive into. We've only got 29 minutes to do it. So we have so many things to touch on. Easton, we're going to have a hell of a time. So before we officially get this show on the road, tell the people what they got to do on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Howdy, people. Help us out. Hit that like button if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, that thumbs up button right below our ugly mugs. Hit that for us so we can get as many people in here before the Titans take on the Bills as humanly possible. Want to hear from you guys in the comments, so jump in there and hit that like button.
All right. Yep. Hit the like button, share the show. Absolutely. Let's get it going officially. Welcome into our Titan pregame show powered by X Golf Nashville and BetMGM, also X Golf in Murfreesboro. X Golf Nashville and also now in Murfreesboro, the home of indoor golf in Middle Tennessee. Play xgolf.com for X Golf. Play, train, and entertain. BetMGM, log in today and get your Pro Football Boost Pack to acquire tokens for even more winnings. BetMGM is an official partner of the Tennessee Titans, and T-Dot, be part of the solution to end littering and make sure nobody trashes Tennessee by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com. So, Easton, let's go ahead off the top immediately. The inactives list for both teams. Tajay Spears, we knew was going to be inactive. Keandre Coburn, we knew was going to be inactive. But Will Levis, inactive with the shoulder injury. L'Jarius Sneed, inactive as well with a quad. Leroy Watson, who was the starting right tackle a week ago, is inactive as well, which is a shocker, but we'll talk about that later, maybe, if we have time. We'll talk about who the new starting tackle of Jalen Duncan is actually going to be. But, man, okay, so yesterday was a little bit crazy because yesterday afternoon, A to Z Sports gets a tip. Mason Rudolph's parents are flying to Buffalo because Mason Rudolph is the starting quarterback tomorrow against the Bills. So we scramble. We try to get Sam and Buck, who are in Buffalo, to confirm this. We did not quite confirm it before Paul Kaharski did. So shut up, Paul. Texted with him last night, said, dang it, you son of a, you know what? You beat us on it, but congrats. Good job. But A to Z Sports knew it for a couple hours, and we couldn't quite get that third source per our own company rules. So we had two on it, couldn't get the third. But
damn you, journalistic integrity.
I know, right?
Unbelievable.
That's the only thing I used for my degree at Tennessee. Shout out Vols. But this is a big deal because Will Levis and his injury changed drastically from 1 week to the next without getting hurt. This is exactly what I was talking about for the entire bye week time, which is you cannot afford, the Tennessee Titans as a franchise cannot afford long-term injury effect to Will Levis. You do not want to evaluate an injured Will Levis for more than you have to. So what I said is you sit Will Levis against the Colts, you give that AC joint, which is a grade 2, according to Adam Schefter, an extra 7 days. So you go, which is almost 50% more time. 13 days to 20 days would have been a great time to rest Will Levis's shoulder and let Mason Rudolph try to beat the worst defense in the NFL with the Colts. No, they didn't do that. Will Levis admits post-game after the Titans lose to the Colts that on a healthier day, maybe he would have gotten more on the throw, the intercepted pass towards Ridley. And we also talked all week about how the shoulder looked like it wasn't as strong as it could have been. And now you revert to putting Will Levis inactive with the shoulder. Easton, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this, but this is a botch job by the Titans organization with Will Levis's shoulder injury.
Yeah, and I wrote about it on Friday. The Titans have a lot of important questions they have to answer, and those questions will be posed in the next 24 hours, and I'm sure in the post-game press conference, no matter how the game goes, we'll be talking about this tomorrow when the Titans get back to the facility. We talked to Brian Callahan and some players. I'm sure we'll be talking about this. I do think it's important to withhold ultimate judgment until we hear from them, but if you just think through all the possibilities here, all the explanations within the realm of possibility, it's hard to find one that doesn't make the Titans look really, really bad in this. And I jokingly told you yesterday that when you and I argued about this over the bye, whether or not to play Levis, my basic point was I'm going to trust the medical personnel informed decision that the Titans make over Austin Stanley's intuition. And honestly, that's on me, because at this point, they
My
were wrong,
intuition is
you were
1-0.
right.
Damn it! Like,
It
let's
is.
go,
I
baby.
mean, that's on me for trusting the doctors. It won't happen again. Yeah, it looks like they have blown this. Really, either way, maybe he aggravated it, and so that's what actually makes it different from last week to this week. But in that case, that was the risk playing him, and that was part of your point, was that you were risking him aggravating it.
Yeah.
And that looks bad. And what looks worse is if he didn't aggravate it, and the Titans just decided, you know what, we're watching back the tape of the Titans and the Colts, and it looks like he's being hampered, physically throwing the ball by this injury. So we were wrong to play him in that game. Nothing has changed. We're going to wait now. You hear from Adam Schefter, considered to be a 4 to 5 week injury. Was that what they considered it to be before they played him last week without hesitation, before he practiced all week without being limited at all? And then suddenly this week that changes. It looks bad.
So the Bork says the coaches should have listened to Austin and the Doc Talk, and because I got my opinion after listening to the Doc Talk. After we talked to Ian Byram, the shoulder expert at the Bone and Joint Institute, if you go back and watch that, there was something that I saw. He said re-injury possibility, and I thought, re-injury possibility is probably a lot higher 13 days after the injury than it would be 20 days after the injury. Darren says Austin's absolutely right. To keep him out of the Colts game. So if you guys want to give me an applause emoji, I would gladly take it. Again, I can take a victory lap all I want, because Easton, I purposefully wanted to hear Brian Callahan's interview with Rhett Bryan on Titans radio this morning before the game. And I wanted to see what he said about this, because
I didn't listen to this.
I did. And Brian, and I can't pull the audio. It's not our stuff, but hey, how about let's see. Okay, so Patricia just had a comment about that. But this is what Brian Callahan told Rhett Bryan, is that he told Will that he wanted him to be 100% to be able to play. And that as the week went on, they could tell that he wasn't 100% and wasn't ready to play.
Right.
Now, that might be true for this week. But was it true for the week before?
Right.
Because after the game, Will Levis said, on a healthier day, right? So did the percentage of being able to play change? Were they okay with an 80% Will Levis against the Colts? And then once they saw what that would have been and it wasn't good enough, now they change it to 100%. Because that's kind of what it sounded like. Because I went back and forth with this with Zach on Tuesday, is that to me it sounded like when Brian Callahan said Will Levis was healthy enough to win that game. The game plan was conservative. They thought he was healthy enough to hand the ball off a lot and to throw conservative pass concepts with his shoulder injury. And then when they got down and he could not throw the non-conservative pass concepts, the shoulder started to become a problem. So,
but on Monday, he straight up said, I don't think it impacted him in this game. I mean, that's what Brian Callahan said. You can ask him, but I don't think it was an issue.
Yes. And so they should have kept him out. So I want to ask everybody this question. What is one word to describe the Titans quarterback situation right now? And you can take it a lot of different ways. One word to describe the Titans. Yes, one word to describe the Titans quarterback situation right now. I want to hear your thoughts on this. So what's one word to describe the Titans' current quarterback situation? We'll do that here in a second. This is the X Golf pregame show presented by our friends at X Golf Nashville and Murfreesboro. We'll get to our X Golf XFactor here in a moment, but we do want to give them a shout out, because if you're looking for something to do on Sundays, maybe you just want the Titans on the background, you can have the Titans and us on the background during the game, but you can go play golf on the best simulators in the golf industry now at X Golf Nashville and in Murfreesboro. Basically, it's a great sports bar with awesome golf simulators. It's also great golf simulators with an awesome sports bar. It goes hand in hand. Great opportunity for you to spend your Saturdays and Sundays this fall as the weather really changes. Maybe you can't get out there on the actual course, but you want to keep your game sharp over the winter. X Golf is the perfect place to go, with 2 locations now, Nashville and Murfreesboro. Book it online and look them up what they got there. PlayXGolf.com. So Easton, I will send you to the chat. What's one word to describe the Titans quarterback situation right now? One word to describe.
We're all over the place with these one words. Ron says
knew it would be
politics. Raz says better. Eric says disaster. Brian says botched. Mike says negligent. Let's see. Leo says cheeks. Darren says buffoonery. Farcical from Cause, suspicious from Andrew, hilarious from Dre, abysmal from Caleb, terrible from Derek, tank from Clayton, train wreck from Burning Devil, lies from Tone, futile from Jody, failure from Robbie, disarray from Eric, messy from Connor, stale from Mo. Nothing good, right? Nothing good in there. I guess except for the handful of folks that think that the word is better. My word is messy. I think somebody else said this as well, but I think that's the correct word here. It's a messy situation, and the Titans have put themselves this week in a rare lose-lose situation from an organizational standpoint, because if you lose the game, you drop to 1-5, all the fans, naturally you start to
go play X golf,
right? Go play X golf and fall into that malaise of being an irrelevant team that is just adrift in the NFL sea of bad. And then if you win with Mason Rudolph, barring a unique situation where he doesn't have to be a huge factor in this game, which we'll talk about more in a minute, you're going to have a proper mess on your hands from a messaging standpoint. In terms of what they want to do with the quarterback situation. The narrow path to victory for the Titans is Tony Pollard ascending to a heavenly plane, rushing for 250 yards, and Josh Allen forgetting how to play football. If that happens, great for them. But otherwise, I think it's going to be messy no matter what happens today. What's your word?
Yeah. I mean, I do agree. It will be messy. That's not my one word. My one word is self-inflicted. I think they just brought all of this unto themselves when they did not have to. Because, and there's a certain member of the Titans media that I'm not going to out, but I texted them and had a conversation, and they fully agreed with me that Will Levis's injury after the Dolphins game, going into the bye week ahead of the Colts game, was the perfect opportunity for the Titans to try to steal a win with Rudolph. And it's a perfect justification to not play Will Levis in a game,
right?
To win a game and then say, hey, he was hurt, right? And you can extend that. If Mason Rudolph beats the Colts and you're 2-3 at this spot, the season's very, very
Which
different.
Is something I still dispute, by the way.
But the season is very different. But you're allowing Will Levis to get healthier, right? And now if you win that game, now Will Levis, healthier later on, has a chance to play more meaningful games that you can evaluate later on in the season. Now they have completely botched and flopped and mismanaged this situation all over the place to where they lost the game to go 1-4. Now Will Levis is having to handle a multiple week injury again. And Adam Schefter saying 4 to 5 weeks. Well, this is what, week 3 of this thing? It's just 20 days. He's got another week, maybe 2. You got the Lions and the Patriots come to town, where if you did not have this setback, and I think this is a setback. Is this fair to call it a setback? The guy plays
for Levis.
If a guy plays and then doesn't play the next week with the same injury, setback, right?
He's trending in the wrong direction.
Yes. So I think this is a massive self-inflicted mess that the Titans could have easily avoided by justifying playing. If Mason Rudolph started versus the Colts, 1,000% justified. Just like the Colts playing Joe Flacco and sitting Anthony Richardson for one more week, 1,000% justified. Don't risk your second-year quarterback having more of a long-term injury than it needed to be by forcing him in a game that he's not quite ready for. And I give Shane Steichen a lot of credit for playing Joe Flacco. They were more desperate to win that game, and they were more desperate to make sure that they did what they had to do to win that game. And playing a banged up, not fully ready Richardson maybe would have hurt him, just like it did for the Titans with Will Levis. And so I think it's self-inflicted. They botched this thing, mismanaged this thing all the way up and down the last couple of weeks. And they didn't have to. They had a completely justifiable reason to not play Will Levis and not make it look bad last week. And they didn't do it. Now it looks weird, right? Now it looks weird. Everybody's like, oh, this is strange, because now you got Pro Football Talk Mike Florio out there calling this a soft benching. Did you see that?
No, but I'm not surprised.
Mike Florio,
I've seen plenty of people say this. Yeah.
Right. If Will Levis doesn't play last week, it's not called a soft benching. It's called a shoulder injury.
Sure.
Right. Now it's messy, right? Like you said. So I think they completely screwed this up.
We have plenty of time after the game to discuss the implications of this. And so I don't want to, let's move forward to what the actual game is going to look like. All I will say is, you talk about who is more desperate to win that game last week. The fact that the Titans didn't take that easy opportunity to play Mason Rudolph. There's a part of me in the back of my head that fears that maybe tells you a little bit about what the Titans think about Mason. And I'm very, very, very curious to see what he looks like today in a game that isn't Miami, right? He's going to have to air it out. They're going to have to throw the ball. I do think he's a good quarterback, but based on the way the Titans have handled this, I wonder if they internally aren't super confident in his ability. We'll see.
I don't know.
But anyways, let's talk about the game.
Yeah, the X factor, because normally we ask you guys, what's the X factor for this game? And I think we're going to kind of do something a little different. Easton, you do have an X factor for the Titans defense, but you also wrote yesterday at A2ZSports.com what we can learn about this Titans roster. And I think also, maybe more importantly, what we can learn about this Titans offensive coaching staff with Will Levis removed from the situation, right? So I think that is kind of the X factor with this. We'll talk about Snead, the Titans defense. So take us through what we have the chance to learn here with Will Levis being sat down with his right shoulder injury here with the X factor segment.
Yeah, I wrote about how Mason Rudolph gives the Titans the opportunity to find out how much of this has really been Will Levis's fault in this game. Remember in science class, Austin, when we would run experiments, you were learning the basic scientific method, and you'd have variables in your experiment, the things that you changed to find out different things. And then you had controls in your experiment, the thing that you knew would reliably stay the same to give you a good benchmark for finding out the other things going on in the experiment. That's what Mason Rudolph is, right? He's a control quarterback. He is perfectly good.
Hey, look at this. 615 Onk went to school. Mason Rudolph is the control. He knew exactly what you're talking about.
All over it. I'm with you. I think you're all over it here because he's perfectly good, right? He's not bad. He's not great. He's not too physically limited, but he's not going to wow you with his traits either. He's got a good head on his shoulders, so you expect him to not make too many boneheaded mistakes. I think the guy can play, and there are tractor quarterbacks in the NFL, and there are trailer quarterbacks in the NFL. Guys you win because of, guys you win with. Mason Rudolph very firmly in that trailer category. You can win with Mason Rudolph. You're not going to win because of him. And I do think he's a top 5 backup in the league. So I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. He's super valuable to this team, but this allows the Titans a very convenient, maybe like deeply needed opportunity to run this offensive experiment to see just how much of the dysfunction has been because of Will Levis. And as I pointed out earlier, anybody that watched that Miami game, because we've already seen Mason Rudolph in this offense once against a hapless Miami team that offered no resistance defensively, no push offensively. He threw 9 completions in that game, 1 in the second half. This is going to be a very, very different game, barring a very interesting game plan that the Titans execute perfectly, which I'll get to here in a minute. But I think that he's going to have to air it out some more, maybe a lot if they get behind early. And that's going to give you a chance to see. And I wrote about, in particular, I think the Calvin Ridley situation could be a telling thing in this game. Only 9 catches for 141 yards through 5 games this year. They're spending a gajillion, billion, trillion dollars on him this year. So that's not a return on investment. Maybe you see him get more involved this week. We heard from Nick Holtz earlier this week talk about, hey, the second play of the game against Indianapolis, that was an example of where Calvin Ridley was supposed to be involved early, and Will Levis just didn't see it. He was open. That was the primary read, and for whatever reason, Levis didn't go there. That's maybe the kind of thing you'd expect Mason Rudolph to execute. And then you see, okay, well, what can Ridley do if we get him more involved? So keep an eye on him. I think just in general, what the Titans offense looks like, how on time they are, getting in and out of the huddle, which they've talked about this week, checks at the line. It will be a backup-y game plan. It's not like they're going to go balls to the wall because Mason Rudolph isn't here. But just in general, what does this offense look like when it's on time? We should be able to see that with Mason Rudolph.
Easton, trivia question. Do you know the last time Mason Rudolph started a football game in the NFL?
I believe it was also in the state of New York, was it not?
Yeah.
Okay. I
heard somebody with that.
No, I only know that because somebody tweeted it at me. I don't know the context. So I'm going to guess.
It was in the exact same stadium they're about to play.
Okay. Playing the Bills. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yep. It was Steelers at Bills wild card playoff game. Remember, it was moved. Mason Rudolph wasn't the problem. The Bills won 31-17, but Mason Rudolph threw for 229 yards, threw 2 touchdowns, had 1 interception, did get sacked just once, ran the ball twice for 16 yards, but 22 of 39. So that was a Steelers team that really limped into the playoffs because Mike Tomlin doing Mike Tomlin things. But like they lost,
yes, they always do.
But it wasn't like Mason Rudolph was just disgusting.
It was an honorable loss.
Yes, right, for a team that was in the playoffs that probably shouldn't have been in the playoffs against a team that was competing and wanting to be in the AFC spot in the Super Bowl. Now, the previous 3 games for Mason Rudolph were all wins. Last season before they got to the playoffs. He threw for 290 in a big-time win against Cincinnati. He threw for 274 the following week in a big win against the Seahawks, and he threw for 152 in a win to get to the playoffs against the Ravens in a 17-10 win. In those 3 games, 3 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, and only sacked a total of 5 times to help get the Steelers to the playoffs. That was basically a playoff stretch, was those 3 games for Pittsburgh. And then they played a team in Buffalo that was very good. So I think Mason Rudolph can run a competent offense. We saw Easton, we were at training camp together working for different companies, but you were sitting there watching Mason Rudolph gash the Seahawks defense in joint practices with he and Jaquan Jackson just running up and down the field. And Will Levis couldn't really do much of anything. Now it was Seahawks' second defense, but Mason Rudolph was in control, is capable, knows where the football needs to go. When Nick Holtz is saying, hey, full offense, we need to sit down in the theater room and say, okay, where's the ball supposed to go here? Not where Will threw it. Mason throws it to where it's supposed to go. But I mean, I'm being serious.
We hope. Yes.
That's the whole idea.
Right.
That's the whole idea.
I have another offensive thought, but I'm going to save it for in the context of the bets we hand out here at the end of the show. So maybe we move to the defensive X factor here.
Yep. All right. Give me your defensive X factor.
Sure. And it's not
carried the X factor segment because
and that's fine. I have a lot of thoughts up here. It's kind of cheating. It's not one specific thing. But it's kind of surrounding the L'Jarius Sneed not being available for this game. It's a big loss for the Titans, and it's a huge opportunity with cornerback 1 and 2 out for Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and Roger McCreary. Come on down. Time to step up, fellas. And then with the Trey Avery experience, I suppose, is what we'll also be getting here. But
and some guy named Baker.
That's right. Baker is
Jay Baker.
Jay Baker. I honestly blanking
Gerard
on his first
Baker
name right now.
Jerome Baker.
That sounds right. I don't know. So banking on those first 2 guys really carrying the load today. I do think that this is going to be an interesting the Titans defense, and too much is asked of them. It's not fair, but it's just the reality. They have to keep the Titans in this game. The Titans offensively are going to they need the defense to minimize Buffalo points so that they don't have to play a super trailing game script and get away from what they want to do with Mason Rudolph. And I do think that they can do a good job. I'm curious to see what the pressure looks like in this game. Josh, the Titans, we've criticized their pass rush all season, and rightfully so. But in their defense, they have played a couple of quarterbacks that have had lightning fast time to throws. Malik Willis, by far not close, his best time to throw. I think he led the NFL that week they played the Titans, 2.3 some odd seconds. Joe Flacco last week, same exact thing, led the league. Getting the ball out so fast. That's kind of the game plan that's out there on the Titans, is we'll just get the ball out quick and you're going to prosper. Just dink and dunk and score touchdowns. Josh Allen doesn't always do that. He's a guy that does like to hang on to the ball.
Easton freezed again? Yes, Easton froze, right? Not me. Easton froze. Did I freeze? Easton froze. Somebody, okay, yeah, all right. We have lost. Easton freezed. Okay, so we were wrong. It's Darrell Baker, as Easton tried to figure out what happened overall. So it was Austin Good, Easton freezed. Darrell Baker is the starting corner with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Outside with Snead out. So I'll just go ahead and go back to the inactives again. Tries to rejoin here with some internet issues. He'll probably throw it up on his hotspot. But Tajay Spears, we knew, was out. Keandre Coburn is out. Leroy Watson and L'Jarius Sneed, Caleb Murphy, David Mark Robinson are also all out. So we knew, guys, that we knew that L'Jarius Sneed was dealing with something, but I didn't think it was going to be something to hold him out. And so I do find it fascinating to see what we're going to have with Darrell Baker and with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. as the starting cornerbacks. Sneed is not playing. Somebody in the comments keeps saying that Sneed is playing, but he is not. He is out with a quad injury. But I mean, you could say that L'Jarius Sneed gave up 3 to 4 big time plays last week against the Indianapolis Colts, which is why the Titans were unable to hang on to that fourth quarter lead. And so Sneed is out. The other thing that I find absolutely strange is that Leroy Watson is inactive after being the starting right tackle a week ago. And Leroy Watson wasn't trouble overall, but Easton, welcome back. I know you're about
into the. I'm throwing it.
Your router is in the ocean, you're saying. So I took us through. It's Darrell Baker. It's not Jerome or
sure, okay,
or whatever the other J name, Jared. It's Darrell Baker, who is starting opposite Jarvis Brownlee. Excuse me. But the thing I was about to dive into is the strangeness of the right tackle starter today being Jalen Duncan, and not just the fact that Jalen Duncan's starting and Watson's not. It's that Watson's inactive.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that? Because it doesn't make any sense to me that this is what the third starting right tackle they've had in
3 weeks.
This is about to be the 6th game this season overall. And I don't get it. Doesn't like
it's the third in as many weeks. They keep every game they change.
But why is Watson inactive? Like Duncan was inactive. Like I guess NPF is just the fire extinguisher on the wall, just chilling there.
Dude, I don't know. This is one of the big questions they have to answer because Watson didn't play. I mean, he played poorly, but less poorly last week than anybody else so far. Duncan, I think it's going to be a nightmare today with Duncan. I think it's going to be an absolute nightmare. I would be happy for him to prove me wrong. I have zero faith in this working. I'm letting Bill Callahan cook. I'm willing to see it. But from the living room, this stew stinks. It smells bad.
What do you have, real quick? What do you have more faith in? Jalen Duncan as a starting right tackle or your internet router?
My internet router, I guess.
Okay.
I have 0% faith in either.
All right. Okay, we've got like 2.5, 3 minutes before this game kicks off. Let's do some of our pre-game predictions. We want your score predictions. Drop your score predictions in the chat if you've got them. I've got a bet that I'm writing on Mason Rudolph. It sounded like Easton, you had one too. But make sure you make all of your plays with BetMGM. Use our code ATOZ Sports to sign up with BetMGM if you haven't already, and you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Right there with BetMGM, an official partner of the Tennessee Titans. So score predictions are rolling through. Easton, I will start it off. I made the graphic that went on A to Z socials this morning. I like Mason Rudolph completions over 18.5 at plus 105.
Sure.
I think
sure. I mean, he's going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah. 18.5 plus 105.
It's funny. I agree with that take, but also my bet's kind of the opposite. I think it's going to be a massive Tony Pollard day. First day that Thomas Odukoya gets to be active. So the Titans have 4 active tight ends. I think that they want to take us back to 1934 in this game if they can. It's going to be an epic 12 personnel game if they can stay on time. So I parlayed Tony Pollard over, what was the number here? 70.5 rushing yards and an anytime touchdown. I think it could be a big Pollard day.
If they can keep the game close enough.
If they stay on time.
And that's why I go with the 18.5 for Mason Rudolph completions over that, because I think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot in the second half. All right, let's go through some of these predictions here. Normally, a lot of Titans fans predict the Titans to win. Shocker. But nope, not today. 31-14, 31-17, 33-14. Hey, here's a 31-24 Titans. How about Titans going for
Can you imagine?
Again? John, 52-3.
Woo!
38-17, 23-7, 30-10, 24-17. The Titans somehow from Don. Jody says 30-12. Dat Boy says 24-21, lose by a missed field goal. 34-17 Bills, 24-21 Titans. We're seeing some closer Bills wins. Karen just says 50 to blip right there. 27-17 Bills, 45-13 Bills. Easton, I'll keep showing some of these comments on the screen. What do you think this game ends with?
21-17 Bills, Titans cover, goes under.
Just the Titans scoring 17, no matter who is the quarterback.
That's right. No matter what. Always, forever.
Mark just asked over under 17. I think the Titans score
Push.
over 17 points today. I also think that I don't know what the number is exactly right now.
41 is the total.
No, I'm talking about the spread.
Oh, it is. Last I checked, 9 this morning.
Okay, I'll take Titans plus 9.
I think they're covered today.
9.
I think they cover.
This was when Mike Vrabel would win a game. I'm not sprinkling or touching the Titans money line.
For what it's worth, Bills are 1-11 covering a spread of over a touchdown in their last 12 instances. They've not been blowing
Josh Allen does some goofy stuff at times. But all right, well, that's it for us on this pregame show. We'll be right back here for the halftime and postgame show. Shout out to all of our partners here, X Golf Nashville and Murfreesboro. Play, train, entertain at playxgolf.com. BetMGM, use our code A to Z Sports, and you get a bunch of money back, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. And T-Dot, be part of the solution to end littering across Tennessee. Nobody trashes Tennessee.com. We'll catch you guys at halftime and postgame. See you soon. Appreciate it as always.